Have you ever wondered about the real dangers lurking on movie sets? What happens when the line between fiction and reality blurs in the most tragic way possible? Behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, accidents happen, safety protocols fail, and sometimes people lose their lives while simply doing their jobs. Number 11. Brandon Lee on The Crow, 1993. Did you know the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee died while filming a movie? Brandon Lee was just 28 years old and on the verge of his big breakthrough when tragedy struck on the set of The Crow. It was supposed to be a simple scene. Brandon's character was to be shot by a bad guy using a prop gun. But something went terribly wrong. The gun that was meant to fire blanks somehow had a real bullet lodged in the barrel from a previous use. When the blank was fired, it pushed the real bullet out with almost the same force as a live round. Brandon was hit in the abdomen. The crew initially thought he was still acting when he fell to the ground. By the time they realized what had happened and rushed him to the hospital, it was too late. Brandon Lee died on March 31, 1993, with only 8 days of filming left on the schedule. The film was eventually completed using special effects and a stunt double. When The Crow was released, it became a huge hit and developed a cult following, partly because of the eerie parallel between the film's story about a man who returns from the dead and the tragic circumstances of its star's death. Brandon's death sent shockwaves through Hollywood and raised serious questions about safety protocols for firearms on movie sets. His fiancée, Eliza Hutton, was devastated. They had planned to marry just weeks after the film's completion. Instead, she found herself attending his funeral. Number 10. Vic Morrow and two child actors on Twilight Zone, the movie, 1982. Have you ever heard about the helicopter accident that claimed 3 lives and changed Hollywood forever? This tragedy remains one of the most shocking accidents in film history. Veteran actor Vic Morrow and two child actors Micah Dinla 7 and Renee Shin-Yi Chen 6 were filming a Vietnam War scene for Twilight Zone, the movie, in California. The scene required Morrow to carry the 2 children across a river while a helicopter pursued them. Director John Landis wanted the scene to be as realistic as possible, with the helicopter flying low and explosions going off around the actors. During filming, something went catastrophically wrong. The pyrotechnic explosions damaged the helicopter's tail rotor, causing the pilot to lose control. The aircraft spun out of control and crashed directly onto the actors below. All 3 were killed instantly. Morrow and one of the children were decapitated by the helicopter's blades, while the other child was crushed. The accident happened in front of the horrified crew and was even captured on film. The aftermath was unprecedented. It led to the first ever manslaughter case against a film director and several crew members. Though they were eventually acquitted, the trial exposed the fact that the children were working illegally at night without proper permits. The tragedy led to major reforms in safety regulations and child labor laws in the film industry. What made this incident even more disturbing was that Morrow had reportedly expressed concerns about the scene's safety before filming began. His last words on set were reportedly telling the children to stay close to him so he could protect them. Number 9. Jon-Erik Hexum on Cover-Up's 1984. Can a blank gun actually kill someone? Jon-Erik Hexum found out the hard way when a seemingly innocent joke turned deadly on the set of the TV series Cover-Up. Hexum was a rising star and heartthrob, playing the role of a model spy in this new CBS series. During a delay in filming on October 12, 1984, the 26-year-old actor was sitting on the bed on set, feeling bored and restless. He picked up a .44 Magnum prop gun that was loaded with blanks. Jokingly putting the gun to his temple, he reportedly said, "Let's see if I've got one for me," and pulled the trigger. What Hexum didn't realize was that blanks, while not containing bullets, still use gunpowder to create the flash and bang effect. When fired at such close range, the paper wadding from the blank cartridge struck his temple with enough force to shatter a quarter-sized piece of his skull. The impact drove bone fragments into his brain, causing massive hemorrhaging. He was rushed to the hospital and underwent 5 hours of surgery, but the damage was too severe. 6 days later, on October 18th, Hexum was declared brain dead. In an act of generosity that gave meaning to his senseless death, his family agreed to donate his organs. His heart, kidneys, corneas, and skin tissue were transplanted to save and improve the lives of others. The series continued with a new male lead, but was cancelled at the end of the season. Hexum's death, while not as well known as some others on this list, serves as a stark reminder that even fake weapons can be deadly when misused. Number 8. Sarah Jones on Midnight Rider, 2014. Did you know a film crew was sent onto active train tracks without permission? Sarah Jones, a 27-year-old camera assistant, paid the ultimate price for someone else's negligence. Jones was working on Midnight Rider, a biographical film about musician Greg Allman. On February 20, 2014, the crew was filming a dream sequence on a railroad trestle bridge over the Altamaha River in Georgia. They had placed a metal hospital bed on the tracks for the scene. What the crew didn't know was that they were filming on active tracks without proper permission from the railroad company. They had been told they would have time to clear the tracks if a train came, but when one actually approached, they had less than a minute to react. Most of the crew managed to run to safety, but Sarah Jones couldn't get off the tracks in time. She was struck by the train and killed instantly. 6 other crew members were injured in the accident. The investigation revealed a pattern of negligence and corner cutting by the film's directors and producers. They had been denied permission to film on the tracks by the railroad company, but decided to go ahead anyway in what was later described as a case of stealing the shot. The director, Randall Miller, eventually pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and criminal trespass. He served just over a year in prison, becoming the first filmmaker in modern history to be jailed for an on-set fatality. The film was never completed. Sarah's death sparked a movement in the industry called Safety for Sarah, advocating for better safety standards on film sets. Her parents established the Sarah Jones Film Foundation to educate young professionals about the importance of set safety and to ensure their daughter's memory lives on. Number 7. Roy Kinnear on The Return of the Musketeers, 1988. Can a simple fall from a horse be fatal? British character actor Roy Kinnear discovered the devastating answer while filming The Return of the Musketeers in Spain. Kinnear, a beloved comedy actor known for roles in films like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, was reprising his role as Planchet from The Three Musketeers. On September 19, 1988, while filming a scene that required him to ride a horse across a bridge in Toledo, Spain, something went wrong. The 54-year-old actor, who wasn't an experienced horseman, fell off his horse and suffered a massive pelvic injury. Initially, the injury wasn't thought to be life-threatening, but complications developed. He was taken to a hospital in Madrid, where he suffered a heart attack and died the following day. What made this tragedy even more poignant was that Kinnear had reportedly expressed concerns about the riding scene beforehand. After his death, his family filed a lawsuit against the film's production company for negligence, which they eventually won 7 years later. His co-star and friend Michael Palin later said that the atmosphere on set changed completely after Kinnear's death. The production continued, but the joy had gone out of it. Director Richard Lester was so affected by the accident that he quit directing feature films altogether. Kinnear left behind his wife Carmel and 3 children, including Rory Kinnear, who would later become a respected actor in his own right. The film was dedicated to Roy's memory when it was released in 1989. Number 6. Art Skull on Top Gun, 1986. Have you ever wondered what happens when stunts go wrong during filming? Veteran stunt pilot Art Skull never returned from a seemingly routine aerial maneuver while filming Top Gun. Skull was no amateur. At 53, he was one of the most accomplished stunt pilots in the industry, with credits on numerous films and TV shows. He was also a flight instructor and aerobatics champion. When the producers of Top Gun needed someone to perform elaborate aerial stunts for the film, Skull was a natural choice. On September 16, 1985, Skal was filming a flat spin maneuver over the Pacific Ocean for a scene in the movie. He was flying a Pitts S2 camera plane to capture point-of-view footage that would be used in the film. Something went catastrophically wrong during the stunt. His last words over the radio were chilling, "I've got a problem here. Then I've really got a problem." The plane crashed into the ocean, and neither Skal nor the aircraft were ever recovered despite an extensive search operation. Investigators never determined the exact cause of the crash, though it's believed that the camera equipment may have affected the aerodynamics of the aircraft or that Skal might have become disoriented during the spin. When Top Gun was released in 1986, it carried a dedication at the end of the credits. This film is dedicated to the memory of Art Skal. For many fans of the blockbuster, this was the first and only time they would hear of the skilled pilot who died helping to create the movie's thrilling flight sequences. Number 5. Martha Mansfield on the Warrens of Virginia, 1924. Can you imagine your costume suddenly bursting into flames? This nightmare scenario became reality for silent film star Martha Mansfield, whose promising career was cut tragically short. Mansfield was a rising star in the early 1920s, having transitioned from the Ziegfeld Follies to a successful film career. In November 1923, the 24-year-old actress was in San Antonio, Texas, filming the Civil War drama The Warrens of Virginia, in which she played the female lead. On November 29th, after completing her scenes for the day, Mansfield was sitting in a car on set, still wearing her elaborate hoopskirt costume typical of the Civil War era. Suddenly, her dress caught fire, reportedly when a crew member carelessly tossed a lit match nearby. The highly flammable material of her costume erupted in flames within seconds. Her co-star Wilfrid Lytell and a chauffeur managed to tear away most of the burning dress and put out the flames, but not before Mansfield suffered severe burns over much of her body. Despite being rushed to a hospital, she died the next day from her injuries. What makes this tragedy even more poignant is that Mansfield had just finished her last scene in the film and was about to return to New York the following day. The film was completed with a stand-in and released in 1924, although most of Mansfield's scenes had to be cut. Her death highlighted the dangers of the highly flammable materials commonly used in costumes at the time, particularly the combination of cotton and celluloid that could burst into flames from even the smallest spark. It was one of several tragedies that eventually led to stricter safety standards for costumes in the film industry. Number 4. Conway Wycliffe on The Dark Knight, 2008. Did you know that even Batman movies can be deadly behind the scenes? Conway Wycliffe never got to see the finished film that would change superhero movies forever. Wycliffe was a 41-year-old special effects technician working on Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. On September 25, 2007, during the filming of a test run for a car chase scene in Surrey, England, tragedy struck. Wycliffe was in a Nissan 4X4 traveling parallel to a stunt car at about 20 mph. He was leaning out of the window operating a camera to capture the stunt car's movements when the driver missed a turn and crashed into a tree. Wycliffe suffered severe head trauma in the collision and was pronounced dead at the scene. The New Zealand-born technician was a veteran of the industry, having worked on major films like Batman Begins, Casino Royale, and Tomb Raider. He left behind a wife and a young son. An investigation later found that basic safety protocols hadn't been followed. The vehicle wasn't specially modified for filming purposes, Wycliffe wasn't wearing a harness or helmet, and the route hadn't been properly tested beforehand. When The Dark Knight was released in 2008, it carried a dedication to both Wycliffe and Heath Ledger, who died after filming was completed but before the movie was released. The film's massive success was bittersweet for those who knew that it had come at such a cost. Number 3. Halyna Hutchins on Rust, 2021. Can a prop gun kill someone in the 21st century? This question shocked the world when cinematographer Halyna Hutchins lost her life on the set of the Western film Rust. On October 21, 2021, actor Alec Baldwin was rehearsing a scene that involved drawing a revolver and pointing it toward the camera. Unbeknownst to him, the prop gun contained a live round. When Baldwin pulled the trigger, the gun fired, striking 42-year-old cinematographer Halyna Hutchins in the chest and injuring director Joel Souza, who was standing behind her. Despite being airlifted to a hospital in Albuquerque, Hutchins succumbed to her injuries. The Ukrainian-born cinematographer was an up-and-coming talent in Hollywood, known for her work on independent films like Arch Enemy and Blindfire. She left behind a husband and a young son. The incident sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, raising serious questions about safety protocols on set. Reports emerged of previous safety concerns, walkouts by crew members, and other accidental discharges of weapons on the Rust set before the fatal shooting. What made this tragedy particularly devastating was how preventable it seemed. Multiple failures in the chain of custody and checking of firearms on set allowed a live round to make its way into a gun that was supposed to be cold, containing no ammunition. The investigation into the shooting continued for years, with criminal charges being filed against multiple individuals involved in the production, including Baldwin. The tragedy led to renewed calls for banning real firearms on film sets, with many productions subsequently pledging to use CGI effects instead of functional weapons. Number 2. John Bernecker on The Walking Dead, 2017. How far would you fall for your craft? Stuntman John Bernecker fell 22 feet to his death on the set of one of television's most popular shows. Bernecker was a veteran stunt performer with credits in major films like The Hunger Games, 22 Jump Street, and Logan. On July 12, 2017, the 33-year-old was performing a relatively routine fall for the hit AMC series The Walking Dead at their filming location in Georgia. The stunt required Bernecker to fall from a balcony and land on a safety cushion below. According to witnesses, he appeared to try to abort the fall at the last moment by attempting to grab onto the balcony, which caused him to miss his mark on the cushion. He struck his head on the concrete floor just inches from the padding. Bernecker was immediately airlifted to Atlanta Medical Center, where he was placed on a ventilator. Tragically, he was declared brain dead shortly afterward and taken off life support the following day. The incident led to a temporary shutdown of production on The Walking Dead and prompted an investigation by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. Bernecker's family later filed a wrongful death lawsuit against AMC Networks, which was eventually settled for an undisclosed amount. His death highlighted the risks that stunt performers take even in seemingly routine situations. Despite extensive safety precautions, the inherent dangers of the profession sometimes lead to devastating consequences. In the case of Bernecker, a split-second decision or miscalculation resulted in the loss of a talented performer at the peak of his career. Number 1. David Holmes on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, 2009. Did you know that behind the magical world of Harry Potter lies a real-life tragedy? Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double suffered a life-changing injury that eventually led to his death. David Holmes had been Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double throughout all 8 Harry Potter films, starting when he was just 18 years old. During the filming of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows in January 2009, the 25-year-old was performing a flying stunt that went horribly wrong. The stunt involved an explosion that was supposed to throw Holmes backward. He was attached to a wire, but something malfunctioned, and he was slammed into a wall with tremendous force. Holmes instantly knew something was terribly wrong. "I can't feel my legs," he told the crew immediately after the accident. Holmes had broken his neck and suffered a serious spinal injury that left him paralyzed from the chest down. He spent the next several years adapting to life as a quadriplegic, showing remarkable courage and positivity despite his circumstances. What many people don't realize is that Holmes maintained a close friendship with Daniel Radcliffe and other cast members after his accident. Radcliffe regularly visited him and even organized fundraisers to help with his care and medical expenses. Holmes died in 2023, 14 years after his injury, from complications related to his condition. His death reopened discussions about the risks stunt performers take and the long-term consequences they and their families sometimes face long after the cameras have stopped rolling. The Harry Potter community mourned his loss, with fans and actors alike paying tribute to the man who had helped bring the magical world to life through his physical performances. While his name may not have appeared in the credits as prominently as the stars, his contribution to the beloved franchise was immeasurable. Can the magic of movies ever truly justify the human cost behind them? How many more lives will be sacrificed before safety becomes the absolute priority on every film set around the world?